Every year, LEGO releases an onslaught of new sets from brand new themes or existing themes, and they have come and gone over the years, but there's definitely a few standout themes that got cut way too short, or they deserve to have a reboot of some kind. So I got together 5 themes that I would love to see come back with modern colors, molds, minifigures, and a fresh perspective. My name is Brian Saviano, here for Beyond the Brick, and I got together these 5, which are obviously not the only 5 that deserve a reboot, but as I was browsing the brick set catalog, I was looking at these and thought, wow, these would really benefit from a refresh. So that's why I'm going to go over them today. You're going to feel differently, so let me know what you think of these choices and what you would like to see come back in the comments down below. To kick us off, it's a fan favorite that got a very, very short run and goes for big money nowadays. It's LEGO Vikings. Coming out in 2005, there's only like a dozen sets from the entire thing, but the fact that we got LEGO Vikings and we got such cool colors and molds out of it, it really set a precedent for what to look for when you're getting a LEGO dragon. And we've obviously gotten a lot of dragons since then, mostly from Ninjago, but I think something to the benefit of Vikings coming out in 2022 or 23 would work really well. There was also a castle line that came out around this time that had dwarves and trolls and everything else like that, so you could combine those two and make a Vikings and trolls versus skeletons and really get fantastical with it. It wouldn't quite be a classic castle line, but you would get really cool looking Vikings along with awesome dragons, and even implementing a fantasy element, because there's the Viking ship challenge against the Midgard serpent. Well, what if you combined like Norse mythology and you had not quite Thor, but other gods or goddesses a part of this line to really emphasize the Vikings aesthetic? I remember getting the Viking fortress against Fafnir dragon half off at my local LEGO store as a little bitty Brian, and it was awesome because it reminded me of Fort Legoredo with the fact that it was all brown and it kind of enclosed in as a massive playset. And if you want to get any of these sets nowadays, you're spending at least double the retail price to get any of them. So I think this would really benefit from having newer molds, fresh colors, and having a different spin with a more fantastical element to it. Sticking with that fantasy element, the second suggestion I have for a reboot is Adventurers. Johnny Thunder and his crew go on plenty of adventures, no matter where they might take them. And this has a lot more flexibility than something like Indiana Jones, because Indiana Jones, you only go with the movies. You can't really do much outside of that without people kind of getting lost with it. And just like with Vikings, you could take this as grounded or as fantasy-like as you wanted to. Another spin I thought about was if you implemented some studio spice into this line, and you had a film crew alongside Johnny Thunder recording everything for a movie. That would be an interesting spin to put on it to refresh it for modern times, like they're filming a classic movie or something like that, just so it can be a bit more believable in the universe. And with the amount of locations they have, like, this to me screams quintessential LEGO. To me, it just makes sense to have a standard adventure character like Johnny Thunder to put in any of your other LEGO sets. Because, you know, they wouldn't really do a dinosaur type thing because they have Jurassic World. That would conflict with that. But he could be your standard non-licensed minifigure to go with that. And you could put him in any situation that you want to. So a more modernized version of that, I think, would do incredibly well. And I know a lot of you out there would love that as well. Next up is a theme you might not be expecting, but I actually really like what they've done with, and they cut it way too short as well. It's LEGO Elves. Now, I know a lot of you probably don't like the mini dolls, I understand that, but at the time when Elves came out, first in like 2015, there were some awesome colors and molds that were not available in LEGO Friends sets. Instead of it being all about shopping at the mall and getting a spa day or whatever, you had plenty more colors than just pink and purple, and dragons, and just fantastical locations that just gave it a lot of variety. And you know, we have adventurers with Johnny Thunder going to the desert temple and whatnot, but I think this is a different side of fantasy that people of any age or interest level would love. Because if you took the mini dolls out of this situation, made them regular minifigures, and you took the eyelashes off the horses and every other animal character, you'd have a really solid Lego line. We've seen that most recently with Lego Video, where they have a couple of different fairy minifigures, and they're objectively cool looking. I fully believe that this theme stands on its own and works incredibly well for what it is. I would love to see Elves come back. You don't even need to modernize a lot of the parts and whatnot because there's already so many cool dragon elements that they put into this, but just keeping it around longer. Lean more into the coolness factor of the whole thing. And the more that I scroll through Brickset and look at this theme, man, there's just a lot of good stuff here. So Lego, bring something back like this. This would be really cool. I'm not even a fan of this next franchise, but I know for a fact it needs to come back. Lord of the Rings, man. You have Star Wars, Harry Potter, Marvel. Lord of the Rings stands toe-to-toe with all of that, and we got seemingly more Hobbit sets than we got Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings is so much more revered by the fan base. Now, although I haven't sat through all 25 hours of films from just Lord of the Rings, I know for a fact that people want this to come back, and honestly, I don't understand why it was only out for like a year or two, man. There's so much more they could have done with this. I'm obviously joking with 25 hours worth of movies, but there's a lot of content there and a lot of characters they could have went with. I can't tell you how many times I've seen on Lego Ideas somebody has made a Minas Tirith mock hoping that it would become a Lego set, and it never does because they're not touching the Lego Lord of the Rings license. Clearly, people want it to come back, and it's deserving of a remaster of some kind. Amazon is making a Lord of the Rings show, which predates the movies, of course, but hopefully that resparks a bit of interest and could cause more sets to come out. The fact that we only got one massive Lego set, being the Tower of Orthanc, out of it is a real shame, and it's especially a shame considering it goes for double the amount of money nowadays. People love Lord of the Rings, and it deserves a second shot, and no, I'm not talking about just The Hobbit. Sure, bring back a couple of sets from The Hobbit because it's a part of the franchise, but people clearly love Lord of the Rings just a little bit more. Finally on the list, it's going to satisfy a lot of the old heads out there. Classic Space does deserve to come back. Although you may have heard me talking a lot of smack about this theme because of how attached people are to it, I do believe there is a space, pun intended, for just plain old Lego space. No Star Wars, no IP, nothing, just Lego pure space. And the methodology behind Lego not doing classic space is Star Wars kind of fills that niche for space, and a lot of kids nowadays don't want to get classic space because why would they do that when they have Star Wars? But they're missing out on a lot of the creativity and originality that classic space has. Not everything needs to be blue and translucent yellow and gray. You can innovate on that and implement other space themes from back in the day into a quote-unquote classic space line. If you want to get any of these sets, they obviously cost a boatload of money because they're so old, but they're not necessarily the most complex Lego sets of all time. So just like what you saw with Benny's spaceship from the Lego movie, which is a really cool set and one of my favorite sets from the entire franchise, if you got modern parts with classic space, you could see some really cool stuff. Again, not just from blue and translucent yellow, implement all the other sub-themes of space. And I think it would be a great contrast if you had the very simplistic classic space minifigure with these not quite overcomplicated space vehicles, but cool space vehicles that help it really contrast. And it harkens back to the day of classic space, but also makes it relevant for the kids that are going to buy it on store shelves today. So those are the 5 Lego themes that I thought really deserve a reboot. I do have an honorable mention here, and it's everybody's favorite oh man, no, no, can't go through with it. But let me know what you think about these 5 choices in the comments below. What classic Lego theme do you want to see come back? What didn't get a proper shot at the limelight and deserves a second chance? Let me know. And I will see you again for more spicy Lego hot takes here on Beyond the Brick.